Thank you for tuning in today for this monthly live broadcast. We are about equipping world-changing disciples. Greetings, I'm Junius Dotson, General Secretary of Discipleship Ministries. I want to welcome you to Dotson Live. Our goal in these broadcasts is simply to help you as leaders and influencers in your church to go to the balcony, take a 30,000-foot look at your ministry, take a moment to step outside of the day-to-day. I believe most of us have some area where we'd like to exercise greater leadership and achieve better outcomes. Well, that's where we come in. I am personally committed to helping you develop stronger and healthier leadership for more effective ministry. If you enjoy today, please take a second to like it and then share this broadcast on your Facebook profile or on a friend's page. I really appreciate you helping me get the word out as we seek to just help people. As we are quickly approaching the Lenten season, and by the way, there is a great Lenten message series in the worship area on the Discipleship Ministries website. As we approach this season, though, I want to talk to you about community engagement. And the premise here is that discipleship begins with relationship. Now, historically, the season of Lent is a 40-day season of spiritual preparation. Historically, the converts to the faith, new persons to the faith, new believers, they were prepared for holy baptism on Easter Sunday. Also, there was a focused effort on reconciliation in the local church body. People really worked on reconciling with each other and forgiveness. And so then it stands to reason that we should also use this season to intentionally increase engagement with people who are outside the church, with people who claim no religious preference, really for people who also consider the church to be irrelevant. So in preparation for this broadcast today, I've been in conversation with several young pastors about this concept of engagement. And I asked them what they thought were the key things to lift up in this discussion. What could I share that could advance our understanding of engagement? So first, I want to use the word engagement in deliberate contrast to our traditional understanding of outreach. Let me offer some distinctions I think may be helpful. Outreach really traditionally has two forms. It could be missional in concept, like helping ministries. Examples would be food and clothing drives, neighborhood cleanups, gas buy-downs, other types of hands-on mission. And then there are outreach efforts that are more evangelistic in concept, like attending a street festival and handing out invitations to your church, or going to a public event where everybody wears a church t-shirt, or passing out water bottles at a park with the church's information on it. But I want to submit to you that any outreach effort whose goal is simply inviting people to church or only providing ministry for people and not ministry with people without regard to building relationships is short-sighted. In point, I also believe that in the long term, it really won't be that effective. Here's my point. Missional engagement really has to be authentic. It's about relationships. Engagement is about initiating and building authentic relationships. Engagement is organic. It is not forced. Here's an example of this. A young pastor shared with me that he and his wife turned off their cable because the bill was just too expensive. But that left them with a dilemma. They had no place to watch football after church on Sundays. And so he told me that they started going to a bar to watch the football game. And he shared that over the course of several weeks of watching football with other people in a crowded room, something unexpected happened. He became friends with the persons who were there, developed relationships with the people that were there, people he would see in the bar gathered there every week. And over time, these encounters and conversations deepened from simply talking about the game to all of a sudden they started talking about the greater things in life. They started talking about Jesus. They started talking about faith. They started talking about life events. This led to a group of people in that bar deciding to help his church with a project that they were interested in as he shared some things that were going on in his own life. There's another example of a church where the biker attended. And the biker decided that, he wanted to invite a group of fellow bikers to attend church for prayer because they were getting ready to go on a road trip. And they were warmly welcomed and an event that occurred once a year. Once a year they would come, get prayed for, they'd go on a road trip. Well, guess what happened? That grew to twice a year. And then more people were interested who did not attend that church, and then that grew to 3 times a year. And then once a quarter. And now if you visit that church on any given Sunday, I'm told you'll see dozens of bikes parked in the parking lot. Now, none of these are examples of a planned outreach effort, but both illustrate some key principles of engagement. Here's number 1. Engagement must be organic. In other words, it happens naturally. It cannot be forced. Secondly, engagement must be authentic. In other words, there can be no expectation of a quid pro quo. I mean, it's really when you enter into relationships with people, there's no relationship, the expectation of a quid pro quo. You enter into a relationship because you value human beings and you value the opportunity to get to know somebody. So it must be organic, engagement must be authentic, and then also engagement must be consistent because it is consistency that builds relationships over a long time. So when engagement is organic, when it is authentic, when it is consistent, what happens is we create space. We create space for people to be able to share their faith. We create space for trust to build. We create space where people become comfortable with you and they are honest about the things that are going on in their lives. And I believe the more authentic we are in these encounters, the more effective we are in sharing our faith. Now, if you're just joining me, I'm Junius Dotson. I'm General Secretary here at Discipleship Ministries. And we're talking about how discipleship begins with relationship. Now, engagement is not a program. It is an ethos that is deeply rooted in a congregation's understanding of intentional discipleship. And you've heard me say this before. Let me say it again. We cannot program our way back to vitality. There is no silver bullet. Everything begins with relationship. Finally, I want to share an idea with you. I have an idea of a very easy way to start engagement. If we were to begin thinking about this corporately, very, very practical way that your church can encourage engagement in your community. So I want you to do. I want you to think about an outreach event you already have planned for this Lenten season. And most churches have something planned for the Lenten season in preparation for Easter. A lot of churches plan an Easter egg hunt. Some churches plan a children's program out in the park. Some churches plan a community garage sale. But whatever your church has planned to engage people to outreach during this season, just think about it. Now, ask yourself, in what ways can we ensure that our encounter with people at this event is organic, authentic, and consistent? Here's my idea. Consider having a team of people whose sole responsibility is to simply talk to people, not to set up, not to tear down, not to serve, but to simply go and talk to people, to listen, to share stories, to begin planting the seed of authentic, organic, and consistent relationships. Now, I found in my own experience in pastoring that this is the most effective way of building relationships. You'd be surprised how many people actually showed up at church, not because they were invited, but because, hey, I met Steve at that picnic. Hey, I met Rhonda at that community outing. Or, hey, I met Brenda when we were just hanging out downtown at the street festival. So this is a byproduct of what happens when we are engaging in authentic relationships. Also, a byproduct of this approach is that when someone is invited by a person who attends your church, or they see an ad in the newspaper, or they receive a postcard invite, guess what? They already know who you are. So then traditional invite outreach efforts will actually get reinforced. They will reinforce your effort at developing authentic relationships. Friends, we are currently facing a challenge unparalleled in our history. We are on the verge of the largest mission field ever. Now, rather than feeling defeated, we should see this as a divine opportunity to be innovative in the ways we can communicate with and intentionally engage people in the communities in which we minister. The driving questions of engagement are, where are the people and how can we best connect with them? You know, when teaching the gospel, Jesus didn't only preach in the synagogue. Jesus didn't just simply say, hey, invite people to come. In fact, almost everything he did was outside of the synagogue. In other words, much of Jesus' ministry takes place wherever the people were. When the Jews gathered in Jerusalem for Passover celebrations, you know what Jesus did? He went and participated in the celebrations. He built relationships in Jerusalem. When the people were gathered at a party, you know what Jesus did? He went to the party and engaged in building relationships. He spent a great deal of his time with and wherever the non-religious folk were. Why? Because those were the people who needed his message the most. And they were also not the people who would hear the message through the traditional method of a synagogue gathering. So I know some of you are thinking, hey, this is 21st century. There's something called technology. And let me say this to you. Yes, we can leverage technology. Websites, social media. Hey, I'm on Facebook Live, blogs, videos, podcasts. We can use technology to begin the relationship with people. But let me be clear. Technology does not replace the foundation of relationship building. Discipleship begins with relationship. Missional engagement must be organic. This naturally happens. It must be authentic. You must really value the person who is sitting in front of you. And it must be consistent. And I believe that as the church engages in missional engagement that is organic, authentic, and consistent, that it will serve as the foundation for intentional discipleship. Hey, I'm praying for you over this Lenten season. I'm praying for your Easter celebration. May it be filled with people who don't know Jesus, but who are coming to get to know and who want to have a personal relationship with Christ. Thanks again for being with me today. And I'll be talking much more about this concept over the next several months. Hey, remember to like and to share this broadcast with your friends. Help spread the word. Please don't forget to visit our website, umcdiscipleship.org. If you have ideas, again, I welcome your best ideas and excellent suggestions as to how we can make our ministry more effective. I hope that you will keep this conversation going as together we serve on this mission field and as we seek to reach those who don't know Jesus in the pardoning of their sins. God bless you and God bless your ministry.
This has been a production of Discipleship Ministries, an agency of the United Methodist Church. Visit us online at umcdiscipleship.org.